Hello, I'm Richard, self-evidently not Bill Nye, much less old and serious than Jeff. While he was thinking about James Tobin, I was thinking about Jimi Hendrix. I'm just going to show you a few things that we've been working on with regard to this campaign. As far as I see it, I do see it as in a sequence. I am a strong supporter of the Jubilee debt campaign. Interestingly, another financial campaign where initial reaction was saying this is impossible, it will break down the whole system of international loans, can't happen, and suddenly we have 40 million more children in school as a result of the cancellation of debt, which countries haven't really noticed or paid for. Then we worked on the Make Poverty History campaign, and Jeff has spoken eloquently about that. And meanwhile, I've been doing comic relief in this country, and I feel as though we do represent an enormous, slightly concealed but passionate commitment by people in this country towards basic tenets of justice. It was interesting that when, even now in the recession, Red Nose Day, I think this year, raised £82 million, which was £20 million more than ever before, at a time when people are meant to be having trouble. And I think, in fact, the moment when there's a general economic problem is the moment when people start to empathise even more with those things that are toughest, both at home and abroad. And if ever anyone says that Americans don't feel these things, I think there's not the same tradition and exposure about, for instance, development issues. But when we did, I went over and worked on a show called Idol Gives Back, which was the same, a bit like Comic Relief, but in the context of American Idol. And we made $55 million from the American public in 70 minutes, I think, which is completely unexpected. But when faced by these issues, they could completely see what was just and felt it was natural to them. What makes this campaign, I think, so interesting is the sort of tripartite nature of the campaign and of where the money is supposed to go. As with Comic Relief, where we give money both at home and abroad, the plan is that money raised by such a tax would, of course, 50% of it would be retained domestically. I know in America the most passionate campaigners for this are working for jobs. In America, many jobs have indeed been lost as a result of the current financial crisis. And then there's our sort of very simple plan would be that 25% would go towards the environment. I feel this very strongly that the younger generation are really wondering whether or not they all know about environmental issues. They all don't want to grow up in a world which is messed up. And I feel they're particularly passionate to see somebody put some money forward for this to happen, because there's a lot of talk about it, but at Copenhagen, certainly no big finance. And then the development part, about which I feel so passionate. And, there are passionate and unusual examples here. It was interesting that Bill Gates, has now raised his commitment on vaccines to 10 billion and asked the world in some way, that's one man, asked the world to match it. And I think it is a great time for a big, heroic, interesting step forward. I feel as though this campaign is a glimpse of the future. As an optimist, but oddly enough, I think if you look at the progress, people in this country were happy about slavery 200 years ago, happy about poverty and disease 150 years ago. I think we do move towards humanity, and I bet that 100 years from now we do have the equivalent of an international welfare arrangement. And this is a glimpse of such a thing, where you actually say, yes, if there is emerging a way in which you could get rid of malaria, which kills over 1 million people a year, completely treatable disease, then surely that can be done if you can, in a snap, find the money to bail out the banks. The fact that 500,000 women die in childbirth unnecessarily around the world, that's got to be sorted out. It's very hard to imagine, and therefore if we find ourselves in the situation that Jeff has described, where there may be a radical and brilliant thing to do, and certainly my appeal to the banking community is that these very brilliant, serious men who have applied so much wit and brain power to working out how to make more money for the banks should actually genuinely, passionately and compassionately apply themselves not towards 10 ways of saying no, but to be partners in working out a way in which to say yes to this.